Hello, everyone. My name is Christopher. I use ze, them, and he, him pronouns.
My name is Judah. I use they/them.
My name is JQ. You can use she, her pronouns for me.
And we're here with a very special guest from Ace Aerospace. If you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hello. I'm Omaia. I use they, them pronouns.
Awesome. Okay, well, today, if you couldn't figure it out by that little teaser and also my epic graphic I made 2 hours before this.
And also our outfits.
And also our green outfits. It is our Aromantic Awareness Week episode. As a counter to our Valentine's Day episode last week. We must balance out the forces in yin and yang or else the world will explode. But yeah, today we're going to be, well, I'm not going to be because I'm also the subject of this interview. Omaia and I are going to be barraged with questions about being aromantic in a nice way. So nice word for barrage. By Judah and JQ, just to get a little bit of dialogue going, understanding about the aromantic identity, and how it differs from a typical alloromantic, amatonormative experience. So I guess I can start with introducing my identity. So I identify as aromantic, but not asexual. That's also called allosexual aromantic. Allosexual meaning not asexual. That means that I still experience sexual attraction, but I do not experience romantic attraction. I started identifying this way in my freshman year of college, actually. That was my big, I guess that's a theme for most people when they realize they're gay, if they didn't realize it in middle school. So yeah, I realized when I was a freshman in college, and I had what I thought was a crush on my sweet mate. And in fact, it was not. Thinking about it more, I was like, damn, if I were to date him, I think I'd be miserable. But that would be me with everybody else. So, Omaia, you want to introduce your particular labels or anything you want to share?
I identify as demi-romantic asexual, and I kind of just figured it out throughout high school. It was a very slow figuring things out because trying to come to terms with being aro or ace is a lot like waiting for something to turn on, but just doesn't.
Yeah, and you can't like prove a negative almost. You like kind of just wait infinitely. Yeah. Well, I'm glad we're here. I actually met Omaia in the Ace Aerospace, like I mentioned, hosted by the UCLA LGBT Center. I don't go to the meetings anymore because I forgot to check the Discord, but they're very cool, and you'll get to know that today. Do you guys want to start the barrage?
Yeah. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. I'm going to be real honest. I'm really tired.
Remember the first question is the do you fuck question, remember?
Oh, sorry, yeah. Everyone wants to know. Do you fuck?
I wish.
Okay.
If only. Next question.
All right, next one. We moved that. We can cross that one out. That was actually a joke from the.
Oh yeah,
from
slash
the podcast.
J.
Yeah, /J. We're not serious. We're not going to be asking really inappropriate, weird questions like that.
Normal ones only.
Yeah, only normal ones. I guess my question is, let's start off with a light one. What are your aromantic headcanons?
Ooh, okay. I already shared this earlier because as you can see, and as is mandated for every podcast episode, I am wearing a Walking Dead shirt. And if I may get on my soapbox, Daryl Dixon from The Walking Dead is aromantic, and if they give him a love interest in this spinoff, I might quit the show because they tried giving him a love interest in the show, and then he shot her in the head with an arrow, and that feels symbolic to me. You know what I mean? So
like the opposite of Cupid's arrow.
yeah, perfect. Arrow's arrow, I guess. But he is like the typical lone wolf character throughout the show. All of his like character arcs throughout the 11 seasons of The Walking Dead are all his relationship to his biological brother, and then his chosen brother with Rick Grimes, and his loving brotherly relationship with Beth, and his what I consider a QPR with Carol, who, if you've seen the character, I'll put a picture. It's usually him and an old woman, and she's like a badass domestic violence survivor who every situation the characters find themselves in, she's the one who gets them out. So they're like the powerhouse team. They're the only two characters from the first season, besides Rick, who are still alive. And I think that shows the power of friendship and the detriment of romance. Burn it all down. No, just kidding. This is a romance nuanced space. But that's my favorite aromantic headcanon for sure.
while watching the Owl House, I kept headcaning Willow as aromantic, and it's a time right now. I was just like seeing where the fandom's at, seeing where the show's going. It's like, oh, okay, okay, fine.
For those of us who haven't seen The Owl House and also don't know who Willow is, where's the show going?
They're implying some romance, and I'm just
Okay.
thinking, please no, I want you to be the arrow plant witch.
Please, it's
real.
already set up. Please. Anything that's green or related to green, you've been stolen. I used to not like the color green, actually.
Really?
Yeah, it was my mom's favorite color, and I didn't like it very much. And then I got an arrow flag for my dorm, and I started to like it. And that arrow flag is behind us today. So it's symbolic of my coming out, I guess, liking the color green. Because I feel like green is like gay arrow solidarity, because a lot of gay people love the color green.
Green is not a bad color.
You're wearing 100% green.
It's not a bad. Not my favorite
As you
color.
wear a literal neon green outfit.
I have
Slay.
to do a fit check. My fit's so cute. Sorry.
Yeah, fit
Not
check.
about me. This is
Another
about
intermission for Judah's fit check.
This is not about me. This is about
My
lovely
outfit.
Yeah. I haven't seen the Owl House yet. I need to get on that. I heard it's really good.
Yeah, it's got bi people and non-binary people in it too, I hear.
Oh, dang.
Even though it's a Disney show. Good on you, Disney. I'm sure it was totally your call for that to happen.
So I actually want to expand a little bit on something Chris said in his answer, because you mentioned QPRs, and I'd love to know, I guess, what QPRs mean to you, or how you feel about that as a model of a relationship.
Yeah, so for anyone who doesn't know, QPR, we were making a pun with NPR just a little bit ago. But QPRs stand for queer platonic relationships. And my definition of it is having a relationship with somebody that is basically taking the emotional place of a romantic relationship, but without typical romantic elements. So we talked a lot in our Valentine's Day episode about like a couple of us have really close friends that we've known for a long time. We relate to a lot. We spend a lot of time with, and it's not like we're romantically attracted to them or we want to get into a romantic relationship with them, but the relationship we have with them kind of fulfills what would be our need for a romantic relationship if we were aromantic. Because for me, I don't feel a need for a romantic relationship personally. I'm not like romance repulsed, but I personally, after being in a few romantic relationships, and the very quick 1 month one after I realized I was aromantic and still wanted to try it, and then it was terrible, I realized that I don't need a romantic relationship, and in fact, I don't really want one. But I do like the idea of having a life partner, because I don't like being by myself. I'm extroverted. One time, I was, when we were online for 4 weeks at the beginning of winter quarter last year, my roommate decided to stay home with his parents for those 4 weeks. And I came here, and in the week 3, I was calling my mom like, Mom, I don't know what to do with myself. I haven't seen him in 3 weeks, and I haven't seen anybody in 3 weeks, and I've been staring at my computer for 7 hours, and I haven't done anything. And she's like, have you considered going outside? And I'm like, I also don't want to do that. So if he could just come, that would be great. But yeah, I'm an extrovert. I love obviously having friends. I love doing stuff like this, talking with people. So if I had somebody who, like, we cooked meals together and we, took a mortgage out on a house together and we lived in the same place and we came home every day from work and talked each other's ears off and watched movies, like, although that's typically what a romantic relationship looks like, in addition to people doing traditionally romantic things, like, I'd be satisfied with that. But I do want to make it clear too, because it's like a general narrative that aromantic people are more valid, or like there's a lot of reassurance that, like, if you're aromantic and you want to be in a romantic relationship, you're valid, but there's like very little validity posturing around people who are loveless or don't want those relationships. Because there are some aromantic people who don't want anything. They don't want that life. They want to live by themselves with maybe their cats or their plants for the rest of their lives. And they don't experience that form of queer platonic love or romantic love in any sort of capacity. And I want to shout them out because I feel like they don't get enough, ironically, they don't get enough love. But yeah, that's my spiel about QPRs. Do you have any stuff you want to add about QPRs or your preference for romance or anything like that? Because you mentioned when we were talking before, you're romance positive. So I want to get your perspective.
Oh boy.
Good start.
Oh boy.
Tell us your life
Yeah.
story.
Okay. All right. When I say I'm demi-romantic, I like to think that I'm like dark gray demi-romantic, where it takes like years for me to finally be like, you know what, that could be nice.
Mm-hmm.
And when I mean literal years. And like what you were describing as a queer platonic relationship, that just sounds like the ideal. Like even with romantic elements in it, like I'm fine with that, but it's not the primary thing that I'm interested in. I just really want like a lifelong travel companion, basically, to just enjoy the mundane throughout life with.
Enjoy the mundane. That's such a good way. Oh, I love that. Because I feel like, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, people who are not aromantic across the hall from us. But being, I guess, and maybe it's my trauma with romantic relationships, but it just feels like more work when it's labeled as a romantic relationship. It feels like there's
I
more,
think there's a lot more pressure.
yeah, there's more
Yeah,
like
there's more
obligation.
pressure, yeah, because like obviously like the things I've seen on Twitter, the discussions around romantic relationships on Twitter is so wild to me.
To be fair,
Um,
the discussions about anything on Twitter are wild.
That is true. Let's preface with that. Twitter is just a wild place in general. But like, no, yeah, you're right. Like romantic relationships is a big pressure, right? Like there's always like, oh, if you don't fight enough, it's your relationship's not good enough. Or like if
God, you guys sound so exhausting.
if your partner doesn't cheat on you at least once and you don't forgive them, like you're a horrible person.
Oh my God.
Like it's just like there are things like that. It's just there's a lot of pressure in romantic relationships. I think we should stop labeling relationships the way that we do. I think they're a lot more complicated.
Honestly, I feel like I'm more label positive about relationships. I just wish that relationship labels didn't come with an incredible amount of cultural baggage.
Yeah.
It's like,
I agree. It's kind of exhausting.
Like,
I love my boyfriend, don't get me wrong, but the pressure is just like the internal, external pressures of just like having to be like that model relationship is just always so
yeah, and you like look at straight relationships online, and I'm like, do you like each other? Because
oh,
I don't know if you do.
I don't understand straight relationships.
Like TBH, not to be heterophobic, but I don't really get you guys.
I
So, because like,
don't really get it.
because like, I mean, the whole thing with like 50% of marriages end in divorce is like that's probably a combination of those obligations and people. Like, I feel like it's weird to me that like most people get into relationships without knowing the other person first. Like, I feel like most of the narratives are like, yeah.
Sorry, could not be me. Anyway, go on.
Yeah, but like, and obviously couldn't be you. It's inherent to the identity. But it's so interesting to me how like, you know, on like dating apps and stuff, like you meet and the only pretext is that you're romantically or sexually attracted to each other. And then you go from there, like you start the relationship
Right.
there rather than I have a deep connection to you as a person. And then it's like, okay, well, I also have these feelings of connection that are separate from that or in addition to that. And so I want to pursue this type of relationship. But like Kelly mentioned last week is like, well, once you're in that trap of being a friend, you're like, oh, but I really like being your friend. So like, if I say I'm romantically into you, does that mean that we're not going to be friends anymore? And I think about that a lot because like, if somebody, okay, not to out myself as a loser, but throughout school, nobody ever confessed their feelings to me in school, right? Maybe as a joke, which makes me an extra loser, but like regularly without that. So, but I like to think that like if somebody were to tell me they were romantically into me, I wouldn't treat our relationship differently because I don't really comprehend how those feelings would change our relationship. Because I think the only thing that makes a relationship weird after you confess your romantic love for somebody is if there is no longer like a respect of boundaries, right? So like people, you know, when a cis straight guy typically says like, I have to tell you something to his girl best friend, it ends up not being good because once you reject that person, there's like this air of like, okay, historically this guy could kill me. or
Right. There's,
surpass my boundaries in some way. But like when I don't feel like I would do that or the other person wouldn't do that, then I'm like, yeah, whatever, we can just continue to exist. But that threat is like everywhere. So
Yeah.
it's hard to.
I mean, it's always like, I don't know, as somebody who's been raised as a girl for the most part, even though I'm not, I don't claim to be one. Just like that socialization, right? Of just like this straight guys always being that kind of threat is scary. It's really scary. So you kind of just always have to like watch your back and be like, ah. Um, and I think honestly too, like we talked about this last week, like humans are a lot more isolated now. Not that again, not that isolation is necessarily bad. But we also talked too that there's a lot of people seeking out connection, but they're seeking out the wrong connection.
Mhm.
Well,
You know what I mean?
I feel like that there is like if you're seeking that form of not being isolated anymore, I feel like there is an incredible amount of pressure, especially if you're a man, honestly, that like you can only have that emotional vulnerability in a romantic relationship. Like if you're a man with a lot of guy friends,
What are you, fucking gay?
yeah.
Literally. And it's funny because, oh my God. And it's funny with that, outing myself as somebody who used to watch Curtis Connor, classic commentary YouTube. He like did this episode. They do, you know, those types of YouTubers do a lot of episodes with like ultra misogynistic alpha males, or about them, not with them, obviously. But one of
Okay,
them
I
is
was
like,
worried for a second.
yeah, no, he's like, he invites them on. He was talking about how in one of those episodes, the guy is like, never show your emotions to your girl or she's gonna leave you. And then Curtis Connor was like, you must be a fucking downer every time you're with your friends because you don't talk to your girlfriend. You're just like, yeah, let's watch the football game. And he's like, you just start crying. And it's like, maybe if you shared a relationship with your girlfriend, then maybe, but it's so funny that, yeah, like those two things can exist. And then that ends up with entrenching toxic masculinity where you can't share your emotions with anyone and then you kill people, which is, obviously there's more steps in
Sad.
between that. But
I kind of want to pivot back to the discussion about, aromanticism.
oh, yeah, because it's the Arrow episode?
Yeah.
Oh,
the
yeah?
Arrow episode.
Okay.
But also, no, because we're talking about this like pressure of like extra relationships. So I kind of wanted to ask, like, there's a question on here. I think I have a little bit more familiar with the split attraction model because I think it's similar to, there's a model of bisexuality that's like similar. But yeah, what is the split attraction model? Now that we're talking about queer platonic relationships and, all of that jazz.
Okay, so the split attraction model is basically like there's sexual attraction and then there's romantic attraction, and you could be bisexual, biromantic, or just like a lot like straight people are heterosexual, heteromantic, and that's the identity. But you could also have different ones. Like I identify as like asexual, but I say I'm biromantic, demi-romantic. And it could be different, and it just further explains the nuance behind attraction in a way that just saying one label can't.
Yeah, that's a great explanation of it. And like for me, I feel like a lot of people assume that if you are aromantic, you are also asexual.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever I introduce my identity, I also say, it's funny because it sounds like, yeah, I'm aromantic, but I fuck for sure. Yeah, for sure.
Do you fuck?
Once again, we're revisiting this. I wish, JQ. My number one identity, as aforementioned, is loser. But yeah, it's like there's a lot of assumptions around identities that have one label. Like even with like the lesbian label, which is like now conceptualized as like much broader than just women attracted to women. Like some lesbians are probably attracted to, certain types of non-binary people or only women or all non-men, stuff like that. But in my case, it's like I experience romantic attraction, but I don't experience, oh my God, some Freudian slip, oh no. I don't experience romantic attraction, but I experience sexual attraction primarily to men and other trans people. Right. So like, and some, I do want to point out, like the split attraction model was specifically started for specifically conversations about like the aromantic asexual spectrum. But like, I think it's totally, like you mentioned, like I'm totally fine with like if an alloromantic, allosexual person with different ways of experiencing sexual and romantic attraction want to use it, that's totally fine. There's like some people who like are attracted to men and women sexually, but would like only settle down with a woman or something like that, which like a lot of people kind of experience but don't label it explicitly, like they don't explicitly use the split attraction model. But anyways, I digress. There's also things called tertiary attraction, which is split in two, and then there's another one also, and that can include things like queer platonic attraction that we mentioned, which is kind of that in-between space, that intimate space. There's sensual attraction, which is your desire to have physical intimacy that's not necessarily sexual. There's aesthetic attraction, which pretty much everyone experiences, which is I find you attractive just like as a person, like you look really cool, you have a great fashion sense. I think, you know, I don't want to fuck you, but I think you look great. You know,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That's the ace experience.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It's like, do I want to dress like you, or do I want to be with you? That's the thing. But and there's some others as well. But it's just like I don't understand hesitance towards being more specific, because I feel like it's easier when people are more specific. If you're what's it called? Potentially want to get into a relationship with them, because if they tell you up front, these are the things I experience and these are the things I don't, there's no questions. And then you can move on or get together or whatever. But yeah, not every aromantic or asexual person uses the split attraction model also. Some people just say aromantic or just say asexual or whatever spectrum label they use. And those people might consider their labels to be identical for both. They might consider just not care about the other one. It's not a fundamental part of their identity. So not everybody uses it, but clearly we do.
Yeah, I mean, I don't get the issue with the split attraction model either in terms of hesitancy to embrace it. I also think too that there's also a hesitancy in general from alloromantic and allosexual people to not embrace aromantic and asexual people. There's always like, are you sure?
I don't know. Okay, I will say that I feel like the split attraction model doesn't work for me, but also this doesn't mean that it doesn't work for other people.
No, JQ, you're the only person actually.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
you've
yeah,
disproved it.
Natural.
Yeah, I don't get stuff like that. It's like people who use bi versus pan, but like for two people it might mean the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Like it does not
I
matter.
Sometimes you just
I
gotta
go in
chill.
between both labels. Like
Judah,
I use both.
bad
of them.
queer person. How dare you?
I use both of them.
Oh,
I know.
well, I don't have any pearls to clutch.
Somebody's fainting right now.
I identified as pan for a while, and then I realized, no, I have a very clear preference, and like it's more of a tertiary attraction than anything, but I have a very clear preference, so I guess that disqualifies pan. And also, I just really like the bi flag, so that was my decision.
Slay.
Iconic.
We have a
Aesthetic.
bi flag in the office, so you got to see it firsthand.
I will say that I do like the softer 70s colors. I kind of wish that made a comeback. I'm not gonna lie. The colors are so harsh now.
I'm waiting for, yeah, because I feel like as more genders get announced, you're running out of combinations. So like slowly it's like neon and stuff, and I'm like, this is so ugly. Gender, instead of gender reveal, it's every baby has a new gender.
Just gender announcement party.
Yeah, and they're running out of different types of glitter to shoot out of cannons.
Gender announcement parties for adults sound kind of dope though.
Like a rebirth party. I think people do. Yeah.
Yeah, you can invite all of your closest friends, and you're like, hey, this is my new gender.
Yeah, it's like cut it to the cake. Oh my god, I'm genderqueer.
Make it a guessing game.
Yeah.
Make it like a lottery. Have people bet.
Yeah.
You know? All right.
Have people bet. Oh my god.
What is their new gender?
Oh my
Like
god.
a betting pool.
And you get all the money.
Yeah, just rig the gender gambling.
Gender gambling.
We're gonna get arrested. This is not a casino. Oh my god.
All right. Sorry. Pivoting back to our main discussion.
Wow, you don't like our tangents, do you, Judah? Wow.
I do.
They happen every time. Inevitable.
They do happen every time.
Oh wait, should we do do you have any fun arrow coming out stories?
Oh yeah. Do you have any aromantic coming out stories? Like how do you go about?
We also take sad ones.
Yeah, also sad.
We'll
ones,
also
but-
take payment in sad ones.
Yeah.
Oh boy,
You have any?
this is like a really long one that's very tied to my aceness.
Go ahead.
Go
And
for it.
Or don't.
oh,
It's up to you. Don't
yeah,
feel
it's
pressured.
so like no, it's not even sad. It's just a really long-winded one. So you can go first while I like formulate and boot up how I'm going to explain this.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, I don't think I like. Oh, actually, the first time I told somebody that I was on the aromantic spectrum, and ironically, she was also asexual. She said, "You'll find someone someday," and I thought that was ironic.
No.
But on a positive note, I have explained it to my mom probably like 6 times because she just keeps forgetting. But I think she's got it now because we were interviewing someone for like some sort of queer holiday, and she goes, "Now we have to find a no romance one for you to do, like for you to interview." But yeah, I don't think I've. Besides, I mean, I'm out online. I'm like an aromantic influencer. Yeah, I was included in some Arrow creators lists. Shout out to Zoe Staller for featuring me. Like right next to Yasmin Benoy. I was like,
Wow.
me? Okay, I'll take it.
Has her team reached back out to
No,
us?
she
Or
hasn't.
Oh my
God,
gosh.
now that I'm also a famous aromantic influencer, I'll have to reach out again. It'll totally work. But yeah, I just like am passively out to anyone who looks at my Instagram bio, but I'm sure plenty of people don't know what aromantic means, so they kind of just skip over it in their brains.
I think you smell really nice.
Yeah, the most transgender queer aromatic. Yeah. Because like I said, I have never been approached for a relationship, so I've never had to be like, ooh, sorry. I'm actually aromantic, but maybe one day that'll happen. Manifesting. I don't want. I'm just kidding. I don't want that to happen. But yeah. So and then like explaining it to my older sisters who are both my 2 sisters who are not aromantic. Like having a conversation with them, and my like sisters having very realistic and common questions about like, well, what if you do find someone like I just do think like labels are for us in the moment. Like I don't know what I'm gonna be when I'm 30 or 40 or whatever. But if this fits me now, like that's fine. Like what if I find someone who cares? Then I'll change my label.
It's
But-
always such a weird gotcha question, you know?
Yeah.
What if you do end up finding someone?
Then I
Okay.
guess I'm going to hell? Like what do you want?
I
Like
guess the world is gonna end.
I
Like,
guess-
I don't know.
Then the committee of mean arrow people gets to show up at your house and be
and
like,
beat the shit out of me.
Here comes the exclusionists.
The exclusionists are gonna beat the shit out of you. But yeah, that's my little stories. What about you? Got your formulation?
Okay, I mean not really, but when it comes to coming out to my family, I think I'm only out to like 3 people in my family. One was because I came out to my aunt like the summer before freshman year of college because she wanted to give a whole sex ed lecture to me for like 30 plus minutes, and I was just sitting there like smiling and nodding because I didn't know what to do with this information that I knew I wasn't going to need. And then she's like, "Okay, but by the way, about sexual orientation, where do you fall on that?" And I just looked at
Not her just asking you.
and like at the very end, I'm like, "Oh, I'm asexual." Like, and she's like, "Oh, you're not going." I'm like, "No, I'm not." And she's like, "Oh, what about romantic attraction?"
Not her
And-
having the second one lined up. Oh my god.
And I'm like, "Oh, I think I'm just demi-romantic." And because she's like, "Oh, there's that one guy. He's pretty cute." And I'm like, "Yeah, I didn't feel like going into queer platonic relationship." And I'm like, "Yeah,
For sure.
yeah." And then I just moved on. And then another time was just like, I said I was ace because it was just "Are you queer? I'm pretty sure you're queer." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm ace." And then someone else mistook that for arrow and then tried to explain that, "Oh, you just don't like anybody." And I'm like, "Wait, that's a very, you just kind of glossed over a lot of nuance. Help."
sorry, imagine trying to like explain someone's own identity to them. Anyway, go on.
Yeah, classic.
And then lastly, like the only other person in my family, oh no, I actually came out to my cousin who's like, "Oh, you don't get crushes?" And I just like, "No, I don't. Not really."
Not really. And then sometimes people try to prove it to you that you have. They're like, "You've never felt butterflies?" And I'm like, "I've been on a roller coaster.
Yeah,
It's the same."
like butterflies, I don't, what? Like,
I'm
It's-
not gonna lie, the butterflies in your stomach type metaphor always freaks me out.
I don't want bugs.
That's
I
body
like
horror. Look
bugs,
at
but
the
not
body
in me.
horror romantic thing out.
No,
of
we
my
gotta
face.
make an Arrow film where everybody's infected with stomach butterflies. I think the last time I got stomach butterflies, oh my god, not me outing myself as such a fan. I was meeting James and Chelsea from the Dead Meat podcast, which is so embarrassing. It didn't happen the second time, so my parasocial relationship was worn off. But
Nice.
yeah, butterflies are a terrible metaphor. But they also, I get it, because roller coasters, it happens. Anyway, sorry, I cut you off.
Roller coasters a better metaphor than butterflies.
And then like the third person in my family I came out to was just I came out to my grandpa and I just explained. I just figured, you know what? Yeah, I'm asexual, and he's like, and he took it like he kind of just was like, oh, okay, because I didn't try going into split attraction. But he kind of just figured that my romantic experience is different. I tried to explain it without using labels because I didn't want to overwhelm him with labels. And he's like, oh, okay, that's perfectly fine.
Oh.
It actually means you don't have to worry about other stuff. I'm like, you're right, yeah. And he's like, and if that changes, that's still okay. And I'm like, thank you.
Oh,
Like that was like, thank you.
That was so positive.
Oh, yay.
And in terms of like coming out to friends and stuff, I don't know. People usually just ask, like, if they see them have an ace pin, because I'm a little bit more out about being ace by having an ace pin, and that is it. So my coworker asked me the other day about it, and I was like, yeah, I'm ace. And then the next question was, oh, are you arrow? And I'm like, arrow spec. And then I had to explain what that meant.
I love the follow-up questions everybody has. They're like, okay, next thing.
Yeah,
Next
like
thing.
some people know how it works, and then like my coworker explained, like, oh, my cousin's ace, and that was basically it. Because like
Nice.
it's really hard for me to talk about arrow experiences without talking about ace experiences, because they're just so entwined for me in terms of my experience overall.
I love that thing. Like, people do that all the time. They're like, oh, I have a cousin who's ace. Do you know them? And it's true. We kind of all know each other. There's a group chat.
There's a group chat. Everyone gets mail from each other. You know.
We're all pen pals.
Yeah.
I'm so sad that I can't be in the aromantic pen pal ring.
Yeah, I'm
Like,
sorry. You've been excluded, you lesbian.
just
There
like-
are lesbians in there, just not your
Just not
type.
me.
Yeah.
Your type.
Your type of allo-romantic lesbian. How dare you try to intrude? Ridiculous. Yeah, I'm happy to hear that you're, and I feel like older people are usually rougher terrain because you're like, oh, are they gonna get it? Most of my grandparents are no longer alive, so I won't have to worry about that. But you know,
Oh.
it's okay.
Oh.
It's okay.
I know truly where I'm at. I'm like, great. One less
That's
person. to-
check that one
I
off.
also think too, like we didn't have the terminology like this back then. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of people who probably have felt similarly.
That's the thing,
Yeah.
right? Okay, mom, don't be listening to this. I'm convinced my mom is gray romantic. That's like, she is only dated my dad, and anyone else she's had a crush on are celebrities. And she like, and that's it. And she's never been obsessed with boys who aren't celebrities. And I'm like, mom, I think I might have a label for you. But
Christmas gift. It's a label.
yeah, Christmas gift, I get her a gray row flag, and she's like, what the fuck is you changing something? Like, what's happening? It's nice when people react nicely and they feature you on lists on the internet. That's a takeaway.
I'm like, we get it, Chris. You're internet famous now.
Yeah, sorry, bragging.
I'm kidding.
Just
I'm joking.
subtle,
Brag all
just
you want.
subtle brag.
Brag all you want.
It's my this is my episode. This is my this is my magazine. Okay, I can brag all I want.
True, it is your magazine.
It is. I created it
This
in
is your
1979.
magazine, expert.
I just this is your world. I'm just living in it.
No, literally. I'm the side character.
Side character. You and me are Daryl and Carol because we're the only ones that are left from our freshman year at OutWrite.
True. Oh my god, you're so right.
Oh my god, crazy to think about.
This is an interesting question. How do you differ from people's perceptions of aromantic people?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, because there's obviously, I think people do have a preconceived notion of what somebody who's like aromantic is. I'm sure they think it's some like prude who sits in the dark all day on the internet.
Omaia? No. I don't know what you do. But yeah, I mean, well, first thing is I am not asexual also. I feel like allo arrow is probably the smallest part of the like aspec community in terms of like the major labels. And I'm also like, I mean, I'm not a psychopath. Everybody thinks that arrow people are psychopaths. If you like look up Yasmin Benoit has like a post that they make every Arrow week or like Ace week, Ace day, and it's like tweets that have been like replied to her features about being like a lingerie model. Because for anyone listening who doesn't know who Yasmin is, she is an asexual and aromantic model. She does lingerie, and she's also like an activist for asexual, aromantic communities,
She has
Black
some
community.
really gorgeous photos
Oh,
on
yeah.
her Instagram.
She looks awesome.
She looks great.
And all the tweets are like, and obviously those articles talk about how seemingly contradictory she's a lingerie model and she's asero, right? And people online are just so mad that that's a thing. Like,
that someone can be pretty but not into them.
yeah, it's like you must have been abused by your father, or you must be a psychopath.
I feel like for a lot of like cis men, and it's primarily people who comment under her posts are cis men.
Mm-hmm.
It's like cis straight men, at least. I'm assuming it's an entitlement, you know, to her sexuality or lack thereof. An entitlement to her body, unfortunately. She's also a Black woman too, so that kind of intertwines with the rest of her identity. Because there is a preconceived notion that Black women are more sexual than non-Black women. Obviously, that's not true, but that has been something that's been reinforced over time through like stereotypes and all of that.
Oh, I did want to mention too, which is funny coming after the very nuanced and important conversation about the oppression of Black women. But it's also rare to see an aromantic man, like someone who identifies openly as aromantic who's also a man. Like in Anthony Padilla's episode about aromantic people, one of the people was a guy, and I was like, oh my god, that's so cool. You never see that, because I feel like the assumption is almost that straight men are not asexual but aromantic because they fuck and they don't care about women. So like,
yeah,
people will see like aromantic man. Oh, you mean like a regular one who don't actually put romantic effort, but want to fuck.
To be fair, patriarchy does do a number
Oh, yeah.
on men.
Everyone.
On everyone, but on men especially in regards to their emotions and sexuality and labels and all of that. There's this pressure to kind of like to always be in a relationship. I'm not trying to like armchair psychologize. It's not a real word, but I'm gonna make it a real word.
Psychologize.
I'm gonna make it a real word for this sentence.
Psychoanalyze.
There you go. That's the
Oh
word
yeah,
I was thinking.
Freud.
Thank
Oh
you.
yeah.
Psychoanalyze cis men, but there is a lot of pressure for cis men to be kind of like this like hunk that has like a woman on both sides of the arm, and like especially like with the whole like the rise of like alpha males and all of that, like
Not the rise of alpha males.
the rise of
Taking
alpha
over.
males.
I'm just thinking hunk, and I'm like, oh yeah, oh yeah. Take a look at those babies.
Sorry, you said oh yeah, and my mind went the Kool-Aid man.
Yeah, same.
Crash through the
Yeah,
glass.
you can't prove the Kool-Aid man isn't aromantic unless there's like a Kool-Aid love interest, which I hope there isn't.
Oh, I hope not.
I think there is. I think.
Oh Jesus.
Please no.
No.
Nothing
you know what?
is sacred.
We're not even gonna look it up. If I don't see it, it doesn't exist. Do you want to share your identities that I wouldn't say contradict, but I feel like contradict societal expectations about aromantic people?
Oh, I'm just currently hung up on Kool-Aid Man right now.
I'm busy. Shut the fuck up, Chris.
But-
I'm busy.
No,
Thinking.
New
I was
headcanon.
just briefly thinking, wait, what? But
Because he's a glass jar.
yeah.
New headcanon.
I don't think he
The
has
Kool-Aid Man is
sexual
aromantic.
organs, probably, or a heart. Does he?
Well, I
'Cause he
don't
can
know.
be
So-
empty.
So I think the person who created the Kool-Aid Man as a character said that like the juice inside is like his inside.
Oh.
Kelly, please do some live fact checking about the Kool-Aid man.
Hold
I
on,
saw
I'll
this
look it up.
horrifying animation where like somebody was just standing there and then the Kool-Aid man flipped on top
Yes,
of
I
him
saw
and he
that
was like
too.
banging on the inside, drowning.
my
It was
God, it was-
horrible.
What?
I mean, kind of awesome though.
Yeah, it was crazy. I'll edit that in if I can find it.
It's so good. That's like how the Kool-Aid man feeds.
Yeah,
Oh,
jeez, he
gosh.
dissolves people inside of his sugary
Like a pitcher
insides.
plant.
Yeah, pitcher plant.
Oh. Ooh.
What do you think the Kool-Aid man's Pokédex entry would be?
Would he be a water type?
Water dark type? If we're or water poison. because
Water
we're both-
poison!
Water poison. Drink the Kool-Aid.
Yeah!
You
Oh
know
my
what?
god.
You know that wasn't actually Kool-Aid.
It was like a knockoff.
Yeah, Flavor Aid or something.
Of course, he
like that.
couldn't fucking afford the original. LOL.
So sorry, I'm like reading this article
What was
about
the
Kool-Aid
question?
Man. Oh,
Here, we gotta finish the Kool-Aid. Now that you've started it, okay? We
I
have to
didn't
finish
start
it.
I just briefly was stuck on that.
Sorry, this became the Kool-Aid Man episode.
The Kool-Aid episode. Kelly, now you have to draw us all as Kool-Aid people.
The Kool-Aid man is the, according to Lily, our live fact checker, the Kool-Aid man is the jar and not the liquid.
Okay.
I read something that it's both. He's both the jar and the liquid inside the jar.
Hey, Chris.
We can make this a
Chris,
metaphor
are you
for
your
some
bones or your skin?
Are you? I don't know. Clearly not my muscles.
He's full of water because he's in the shower?
Yeah.
What?
What?
What are you?
What?
Lily, what are you
Sources?
looking at?
According to Instagram, alien prophecy.
I don't just...
It's on an article.
Lily looked up
Oh my
Kool-Aid
god.
Man
There's
Rule
a
34.
Kool-Aid man commercial where he's in the shower so he's full of clear water instead of being full of Kool-Aid.
My life isn't all cherry and sweetness. Oh yeah? I put my pants on one leg at a time. So my pants are 22 different flavors.
Oh no, dude, his red blood cell count, and that must have been crazy.
Kool-Aid man is iron
Non-existent.
deficient.
It's true. He falls over when he gets up too fast. Anyways,
Anyway.
the question was, how do you differ from like people's perceptions of what an aromantic person is or looks
Personally,
like?
my perception of an aromantic person is the Kool-Aid man.
Jake, you get the fuck out of here.
Oh no. I just talk about my own personal experiences because that's the best I could do because I can't speak for other people, and I feel like trying to go up against every single negative stereotype for arrow people is impossible
Mhm.
because there's just society loves shaming arrows.
Yeah, I feel like people don't realize too, like, amatonormativity, big fancy word, which is like, goes in line with cisnormativity, heteronormativity, is just the societal idea that a romantic relationship in the form of monogamous, heterosexual, cisgender marriage is the thing you should be striving for, and once you have it, you are fulfilled. And like rom-coms, right? The woman who is single is always a busy bee. She's accomplished in her job, and she usually has to sacrifice that in order to get into a relationship with a dream man. And even though in a lot of those films, those women are like perfectly fine being those busy bees, their best friend is always like, "You're lonely and you need dick." And then that's the plot of the movie.
You need an aromantic comedy.
Oh my god, yeah, a rom-com?
A rom-com.
A rom-com. That would be
But
fun.
then I feel like people would be like, "So you mean just a comedy?"
Oh, Jesus fucking.
Which, obviously, no.
You know how
Let's
many...
be clear, a rom-com is a completely different genre.
Oh
wait,
my
wait,
God.
wait, wait, wait! I have a good idea for one.
Yes, pitch.
Right, let me
Pitch
pitch
sesh.
this real quick. All right.
NBC, are you listening?
In a world.
All right. So one person is a busy bee. All right. We have the busy bee archetype. The other person works at a nursery with plants,
Oh.
and they enter. Well, I guess at the end.
Is
it's
this the
like-
plot of the Bee movie?
No, Not
No.
not the plot of the bee.
Are you
movie.
sure?
Are you sure? Because there's a florist and a bee in that.
I kind of forgot that
The
bee
busy
existed.
bee in this scenario is not an actual
a bee.
bee.
Okay, metaphorical
They're a
bee.
human who is busy.
A human who's thank you, Jake. Not a bee. Not an actual bee. But anyways, the other person works at a nursery, and by the end of it they get into a queer platonic relationship because there's hijinks that ensue for some reason. I don't know. I just thought
Oh.
this idea right now.
I'm into that.
Yeah, I'd watch.
Queering the Bee movie. I like that.
Basically,
Basically,
it the
except
A
they are
movie?
both you. The A movie?
Oh no.
Oh my god. Perfect. That's so perfect. See, my joke worked out, okay?
It's a movie.
It's like Harry Styles talking about Don't Worry, Darling.
Oh god.
My favorite part about this movie is that it's It's a movie.
My favorite thing about the movie is like it feels like a movie.
And that's me on the press tour for a movie starring me and Omaia, I guess.
Oh my god.
It's a movie.
Don't get me started on Harry Styles.
What is
It's a movie.
it's a movie.
And, Seinfeld is not invited to this movie. I want to do maybe one more, two more.
Okay. JQ, do you have any you want to ask?
It doesn't have to
I
be
thought
from
we
the
could wrap
list.
up with so what advice would you give to someone
Oh, yeah, it's
who
a good
thinks they might be
one.
aromantic?
Do you have anything off the cuff?
I'm trying to think.
Yeah, we gotta do our thinking session.
Or,
Jeopardy
like,
music.
what advice would you give to like younger you who presumably didn't know they were aromantic?
Oh, younger me, stop getting into romantic relationships. Stop it. Stop it. You don't need those. Because I feel like I think my disability really intertwines with all of my identities the most. Like growing up, I was ungendered basically because I was put into a third category of disabled rather than like socialized as a man or a woman. And with romance too, there's like a stereotype and trope that a lot of disabled people are pushed into and honestly forced into because of inaccessibility and stuff, but whatever. Well, that's a conversation for another time. But they are stereotyped as asexual and incapable of having a romantic relationship. And in order to have I actually went to a talk with the disability studies minor yesterday, where the author was talking about how in narratives that parents of disabled kids write about those kids, they often talk about their kid overcoming their disability in the form of achieving heterosexuality or achieving romance. So growing up, I was, bullied a lot. I was a fucking loser, as we've already gone over. So like getting any sort of romantic attention or anything from somebody who I found attractive was like everything to me because I felt like that was something that I lacked. And I use lack very specifically because lack implies something is missing. But now that I've gone through those relationships, I mean, like, honestly, they taught me a lot. So maybe somewhere in the fate of the world, I was supposed to go through them. But going through those and realizing, oh, I wasn't actually romantically interested in these people. I was either desperate for any sort of validation or we were trauma bonded. Like realizing that made me realize that I was not lacking like romantic attraction or lacking romantic validation. I was just lacking like self-confidence and love for myself. And then coming to college where I meet all these other queer people and I meet, my roommate who's also on the aromantic spectrum, and I start having actual friends instead of not having friends like I did in high school. I realize, there's no void to fill. Like that void was just there because I didn't have other relationships or other passions in my life that I was pushing myself towards. But now that I have OutWrite, I have the art that I do, I have, internships in writing and all this stuff that I like love doing and I throw myself into 100%, like those fill that metaphorical void, right? And I don't feel like, and even if I lost those things, I think now with that foresight, I don't think like being in a romantic relationship would fix them, obviously, because it's not what fixed them before. So I would say to my younger self and to any people who think they're aromantic, you don't have to try it. You really don't. Like some, people always say like, if a lesbian comes out like, well, have you ever been with a man? How do you even know? And you should apply that same logic to whatever sexuality or romantic orientation that you have. Like if you feel like you're not feeling anything, you don't have to test it out. Like we said earlier, if it ends up being something different, if it ends up you're demi-romantic or you have experienced attraction once and never again, or you weren't aromantic at all, you really were a late bloomer, that's fine. But like the aromantic label, just like any label, is supposed to serve you however you want it to serve you. And if it served you for a few years, a few months, in a questioning period, after your last breakup, for the rest of your life, whatever, it's there for you to hold when you want to hold it. And now I'm holding it very dearly. But yeah, I would just say try other things before you thrust yourself into a romantic relationship. Try evaluating other things in your life that might be missing, like get more into something that you love to do, like drawing, but you don't have enough time to do it. So yeah, that's my advice.
Beautiful.
Find your passions. I love my passions as much as I would love a romantic partner, but my passions get me Instagram followers, and a partner would not. So take that.
Okay, so for my advice, personally, I think the biggest thing that changed a lot of like how I was feeling about myself was just realizing that just a lot of self-reflection. Like I needed to stop, like I had to stop thinking about what society want me to do. Like, okay, here's what society wants from me. This is what they expect from me. This is what they expect from all these arbitrary rules. And I used to really throw myself and try to make myself fit these rules and really fake it till I make it. And I couldn't make it. And I just remember this very, like, just being really upset and talking to a friend at the time, just being like, look, I'm asexual. The society doesn't want this. I don't even know what kind of romantic relationship I would want. Who the heck would want me? Because I don't want to live alone for the rest of my life, because I didn't know what queerplatonic was at the time. And they were like, look, you are going to find the right person for you. And I don't mean this in an asexual way. I mean, you're going to find, like, an asphobic way. You're going to find the right person who respects your boundaries and truly makes you feel like I'm trying to, like, this is the thing I was trying to word earlier and just screwed up and I just didn't say it, and this is, of course, I saved the worst for last, but
You're doing great. You're doing great.
All right, thanks. It was just like, hey, you'll find the person that'll help you feel comfortable in this relationship. And I did some self-reflecting, like, okay, what would that look like? It's like, well, like I said earlier, a lifelong travel companion, and I was thinking, like, yeah, cuddling's great. That would be great too.
Just throw that in there.
Yeah, just
Little
throw it in
spice.
there. Like, that's about it. But it's like, and really just enjoying the mundane, like I said earlier. And then, funny enough, here's the biggest plot twist. Like, slowly but surely from the rest of high school, I was sophomore high school. And then come end of senior year, two of us are platonic, like a queer platonic, real romantic aspect relationship. Like, we don't even use labels for it. It's just, it's like, yeah, found the person, plot twist, it was you all along.
Aw.
And we've been together ever since. But I don't really use many labels to describe our relationship, because it's not exactly queer platonic, because there is some romance in there, but isn't romantic because it doesn't fit all of the weird societal expectations. And also, I actually feel comfortable in it, so I feel like that disregards a lot of romantic expectations right there.
Yay. Nice.
Yeah.
So, long story short, I think self-reflection is like on what you actually want as a person, and not what society's telling you. Because if you keep trying to throw yourself into whatever society tells you to be happy, you won't really find what makes you happy. You'll just find what people think would make you happy, and you need to figure out what works best for you.
Amazing. That's a perfect place to end, I think.
Yep.
Find what makes you happy. If it's love, if it's not, if it's stuff you like to do. It's your life. Live it. Use labels how you want. Yay. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Omaia, for joining us.
Thank you. This was
Thank
fun.
you.
Yeah, I'm glad. Well, you all can follow OutWrite on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and Facebook, although we really only post on Instagram, at OutWrite Newsmag. You can also get our bi-weekly articles on our website, outrightnewsmag.org. That's right spelled WRITE. You want people to follow you on Instagram? Anything you want to share?
I
Anything?
simply do not exist.
Oh,
to be
that's-
honest.
you know
Like, you
what?
cannot
So
follow me.
real for
I'm
that.
nowhere.
I'm nowhere, and as people can see on the podcast episode of this, you even can't see their face. It's a cute little drawing done by our
like,
illustrator.
I do not exist. I'm just a
The only
hologram
place-
projection. I don't know.
The
Yeah.
only place you can follow Omaia is around in real life.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So don't
that's
do
literally it.
that. Please don't do that.
Please don't stalk me.
Um,
I
but-
won't even notice you. I'm too oblivious.
Okay, I'll put up a flyer for Ace Aerospace if there's anyone here who goes to UCLA who'd like to join that. It's for A-Spec and Aerospec spectrums. But I have been Christopher,
I've been Judah.
I've been JQ.
and this has been Omaia. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next week on our next episode of Speak Out. Bye, everyone. I love a good
hate that
contradiction.
my hoops are being covered by these headphones.
Oh, my
No,
hoops are
uh,
also being covered.
You
we're
can do.
both
You want to do a
struggling.
quick hoop
Yes, let's do a
reveal?
hope reveal because these are cute. Look at these. Oh, they're so huge. Ah. Okay, sorry.
poop intermission.